I thought Crockett Grills did really well. I feel like it was last week we said was her best game since the start of the year. I think she probably topped that again.
Yep.
I just felt like she was playing a really good Crockett Grills game. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like we've really got to start looking at in this kind of way when we're talking about the kind of game you're playing. It's got to be I think I was talking about it first with Morrison a few weeks ago. Like, what is the perfect Morrison game? Because they're not
Yep.
all alike. You know what I mean? And I feel like JCG's game was a really solid JCG performance.
Yep.
Her heart was in it. She seemed to know where she was at all times and what she was doing. What her role was. She was moved around a little bit. She was moved up forward again and did some pretty good running. And laid some ripper tackles. So, she's been one of my favorites since the first game we went and saw live. So it was really good to see her finding her feet again this season.
Absolutely.
What about you, John Doe? Who's a player that sort of stood out, maybe that's not going to make your votes, but did some things you liked? Anyone off the top?
Who do I pick?
I've got one off the top of my head, if you like. If you want to have
yeah. I'm going to say Meg McDonald. We haven't talked a lot about Meg McDonald.
True.
And I thought that's going to be a really good sign. Fantastic. A really good sign that she's not having to do everything. But I thought the way that defensive unit worked, I thought that was Megatron all over, just in control, telling the troops where to be, where to play, what to do, and just be the leader that the Cats need. And I thought that it was a really good game by her for her standards. And we haven't talked about her a lot, and that's a good thing because that's what we wanted. We wanted her to be able to stand back a bit more and lead, not from the front as one of the best players on the ground each week, but just from the back line and be the captain that is needed.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you've got players like Maddie McMahon, who had 15 disposals, 6 marks and a tackle, playing the player I wanted to shout out, or one of them, was Laura Gardiner, who I said by Stonks on before the start of the year. I maybe was in too early, but I'd prefer to be in early on a Stonk than late. So I still think if you were one of the good people out there who went out and got some Laura Gardiner Stonks, hold on to those Stonks, because just her third game of the season, 18 disposals, which was third best on the team, 2 marks, 4 tackles. I still think there's something really special about Laura Gardiner. It's just about finding that consistency early in the season. Back-to-back years now, it's been like in the side early, hasn't necessarily performed, then back in late and has found her feet. So whatever that is, don't know why or what, whether it's just happenstance, but I still think Laura Gardiner Stonks are a good Stonk to be on. So shout out to her. You guys got anyone else you want to throw out before we move into the MVP votes? Any other thoughts on the game from the notebook?
Just fantastic game all around.
Yeah, no, I'm actually I feel like I've mentioned her every week, and it's another one that you were sort of spruiking early this year or last year, Jake. And that's Featherston. I still think Featherston's just a really, really solid player that just doesn't really fuck up. I think she'll become more of a household name than she is now. I don't think she gets a lot of recognition, which is why I like to keep bringing her up. Yeah. But it's because there's not a lot to talk about often, because she maybe isn't doing anything spectacular yet, but she's not making stuff ups. You know what I mean? She's just doing everything game in, game out, that's expected of her. And that's one of my favorite kind of players. So, Featherston, as always, I thought was just really, really, represented herself well.
Well, it's funny, Featherston, the second lowest disposals on the Cats team for the game, but she had equal third marks. She took 3 marks for the game, which, as I said, was equal for third behind McMahon and Barber. So I think too that we maybe even haven't necessarily found her final resting place in terms of on the field.
I don't think so, no.
I don't think we've found that position. I'm not convinced she's going to be in defence. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Like, I know in her, I think it was Geelong Falcons career, she pinch hit in the ruck. She played up forward. She played some time in midfield. She played down back. From what I understand, she's sort of an everywhere kind of player. And I just kind of look at her run and dash and ability to operate in small spaces and that raking kick that she has. I could see her make a transition to a position maybe higher up the ground.
And they're really good marks too. Like
Yeah.
they're never just sort of like easy marks. They're often really important intercept marks.
Absolutely. I feel like she could play well at half forward / midfield. I thought that would be a good spot for her as well.
So let's have a look at, I can sort of imagine, outside kind of midfielder, someone who can get a hand off and break a line and deliver a nice kick into the forward 50. That's sort of what I can imagine happening. Let's get into the MVP votes, chaps.